Hola. So we're doing chapters 13, 14, and 15 of Metu Neter. These chapters are going over the meditation process. Each chapter kind of the breaks up the levels into three parts. I'm going to read page 171, which is the first chapter, first paragraph. This first paragraph just gives you an overview of everything that we just finished reading. As the raising of our consciousness to the higher parts of the spirit and the achievement of our will cannot take place without a strong life force. Care of the life force is the most important preliminary requirement to success in life and meditation. It is this force that is the energetic and substantive basis from which our physical bodies and higher parts of our spirit are made. It is also the basis of our metaphysical faculties that we call deities. These are the spiritual complexes that are in charge of the operation of the host of the physiological and mental functions. Het Heru, for example, is in charge of the gonadal, gestational, artistic, imaginative functions, and so on. Sebek is in charge of the cerebral, spinal, verbalizing, sequential, logical functions, and so on. It is for this reason that the life force was called in by the Cometians Ra, the father of the gods and of all living things. It is not the sun god that is the solar force, which is the substantive and energetic basis of all things on Earth. While the Cometians knew this fact over 6,000 years ago, Western scientists have just recognized it in the past 100 years. That was a conversation that I had on Facebook earlier about deities and ancestors being two different things. This just goes on to talk about how, like, in the chapters that we read before this, it was just like a brief overview of the different stages of meditation, and this one it goes into more detail about the specific things that you need to do. There are 4 principles underlying the process of meditation. The level 1 is spheres 9 through 7. It is about recognizing and unifying one's inner intelligence with their will and establishing your inner intelligence as the medium and person receiving the work. In the book, they give examples. You have 2 examples. You have a man who is at work and he wants a raise, he wants a promotion at his job, and then you have a woman who is barren and she's having trouble having her children. So during these next 3 chapters, what it does is it gives the scenarios of these 2 people coming into a healer's office and saying their problems or whatever, and the healer is giving them advice step by step through the stages of meditation what they should do. So do you have your notes? I have mine. Okay, so what did you get for level 1, spheres 9 through 7?
I got what you got, but then they also put the whole entire example. But I also wanted to know how come they put this quote over here. You guess in the unison of the self, they mean person with God.
Okay, so he's asking about page 172. If you go down to the second paragraph, it says, yoga is the union of the self, they mean person, with God, and so on. Okay, so when you do yoga, you're focusing on your breathing as well as your movements, and you're also meditating in your mind.
And you're thinking of nothing.
Yeah, it's supposed to help you reach that level of consciousness where you're only conscious of being conscious. It doesn't happen during, one session of yoga, but that's the purpose of yoga. It's supposed to be the union of oneself with God, with the deities, and so on and so forth. So level 2, which is spheres 6 through 4, is about acknowledging the inner intelligence being operated by divine law and what it has done for you. You identify with the inner intelligence rather than one's will. And what they mean by inner intelligence, what we went over like a week or so ago, the inner intelligence is the energy that's controlling everything that you don't think of on a regular basis. Like, you're not thinking about your heart beating. You're not telling yourself to breathe. You're not telling yourself when to blink and things like that. That's your inner intelligence doing it for you. And when it talks about your will, it's talking about the things that, you tell yourself to do on a regular basis. And one of the purposes of, well, when we talked about the 10 steps of manifestation, we talked about the idea of getting in tune with your inner intelligence and accepting your inner intelligence to control what your will usually controls. So you're giving that inner intelligence the ability to take over the things that your will is used to controlling. And then it's also telling you how to manifest the opposite thing too. You can also utilize your will to take control of your inner intelligence. Last week I mentioned a really good documentary called Heal or Healing, I forget, but it's on Netflix, and that specifically talks about using your will to control some things that are in your inner intelligence. One specific story they had, it was a man who was told by his doctors that he would never walk again. So they wanted to do some kind of surgery on his back or something like that. And he was like, I don't want to do that. So he went home and he meditated. This took a couple of months, I think like 2 or 3 months. He meditated daily. He closed his eyes and he imagined that part of his back that needed the surgery. He imagined what it looked like versus what he wanted it to look like. And he imagined it healing. Over time, he was able to walk again. And he did that without the surgery. He did that without the physical therapy and all those things. He did that, which is his own will, and using his will to take control of the inner intelligence to do that. So that's a good documentary. Definitely watch that. The Secret, that is also a documentary on Netflix. It's also a book. It's called The Secret, and it also talks about that in a different way. Um, you have anything you want to say about that?
They're right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a simple process of imagining what you want with a strong desire. So then how would you image it?
Where are you looking at?
The whole point of meditating, right, is to like not think of anything.
Right.
But then how do you do that?
Okay. So when we're going to get deeper into that during these 3 chapters, right now we're just talking about the four the four laws, the four principles underlying the process of meditation. And then once we get into the chapters, it does go into the different steps of meditation. And there is one step, I believe, is stage 6 or 7, where you get to the space where you have completely removed yourself from emotions. And we'll get more in detail with that. Good question. Hold that question. Level 3, spheres 3 to 1, is about the ability to use your divine powers as a result of having established the law of God as a guide for living. Um, and level 4, which is once you reach sphere 0, which we know is the ultimate level that you can reach. This is the realization that self is not separate from God. And, we see that in repetition a lot with the 10 stages of manifestation. When we talk about the story of Osiris and Set, when you talk about, bringing civilization into one, bringing yourself into one, all those things, the spheres are pretty much the same. You just kind of change the pronouns of it, if you will. When we move on to page 173, that's when they introduced the 2 case studies that I mentioned earlier of the man who wants a promotion and the woman who is having issues with giving birth. It goes on to talk about level 1 of the meditation process, which is considered also as stage 1, and this occurs within sphere 9. The chant while in this process is Ong Hasar Hung. That is the noise you will make. It also tells you to you can refer on page 402, and that gives you
Like a look, or like it would just give you an image.
when you go to the back of the book in the page 400s. For those of you guys who don't have this book, I do have a free PDF file. If you guys go on the Less Nobodies collection Instagram page, our Facebook page, also my personal Instagram page and Facebook page, there is a black photo with neon pink letters, and underneath that photo is the free PDF file of this book. It has all the pages. when I initially tried to read this book, that's where I was reading it off of. For those of you who don't like to read on your screen, because I've heard that before, you are more than welcome to print out the pages as we go along. If you go to the library, I think it's about 10 cents a page. And we're reading, X amount of pages weekly. So it's not like you got to go in there in a day and print out the entire book. We're doing it weekly. We only have about a couple more weeks left on this book. But anyway, moving forward, if you go to the 400 pages, it has a breakdown of how you say the mantras, how you breathe in between the mantras and all that. And I thought that was so cool.
And then it also gives the images out. So if you like
Mhm.
very imaginative on making the story, like say you want a more vivid approach on the story of a set in a song,
Mhm.
then you can totally do that. And I feel like it's on the back pages as well, right?
Oh yeah, the appendix that they have in the back. Oh, they also have. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's right. They do have the images in the back because when you are meditating, they do tell you to imagine certain images while you're meditating. I'm sorry, I can't talk. So these are the images that you can imagine while you're meditating. That's awesome that that's there. So all that is in the back of the book. But yeah, and this is very important for this chapter that goes into that. So this sphere, this that is the chant that you will be doing, which can be found on page 402. And during this stage, you're going to position a star as the executioner of the meditation. At this point, the two individuals that have come into the healer's office, the healer has given them information about a star, has told them the story. They have done their due diligence with researching the story and resonating with it and resonating with the ideal of inner intelligence versus will. So all of that has been established. The foundation has been given, and now we're going into the meditation process. So you do have to educate yourself, like the beginning of the book states. You do have to know about the creators of the civilization, the creators of the religion, the creators of the practice prior to actually doing the practice, because if you don't know about the people that created, you can't fully resonate with the creation. That's a given. So yeah, you got the knowledge. Now we're entering meditation. At this stage, you're going to visualize oneself wearing a white crown of a star, and that image is found in the back of the book. And there is no external verbalization. So, with a lot of meditation, they say, you're supposed to make the sound outward, which you can do to start off. It's, whatever makes you comfortable, but it's all about inward. And it gave really good examples that I could really resonate with, because I remember when I was in church and you're in church and you're praying and you could be saying whatever you want to say. But in my mind, I'm thinking like my favorite cartoon theme songs. I'm thinking about what I'm going to wear later. Da, 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 da. So the point of it saying don't verbalize it is saying in your head. It doesn't give your brain an opportunity to think of other things because you're saying the words in your head. You're doing the chant in your head. You know what I mean? I could be doing the chant out loud and I could be thinking about something totally different. That's not everybody, but I could resonate with this section of the book because I remember as a child that's what happened when I was in church. It wasn't my intention.
Or you could think about it like this. Like say if you were a shy person and you didn't want to literally say it out loud because it was just uncomfortable for you.
Right.
Then you could just say it inside your head.
Right.
But then there's also some people that like to speak it out loud.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can do it too, but just make sure you're also saying it in your head and your mind is clear. Don't give your mind the opportunity to think other things. Intentions is everything. So when you get another bullet point I have under here, because this level is broken down into three parts. The second part is now you're going to chant while planting a grain of cereal in your mind and you're watching it grow. And the chapter goes on to talk about why this practice is not considered as hypnosis. Um, while you're doing this part, you're ridding of the left brain, which separates everything, which separates ideals and words and stuff like that, which is one of the reasons why you are saying these things in your head and not out loud. And you are directing your attention to your right brain, which brings everything in unison.
But you're trying to figure out what it means.
Yes, it brings everything in unison and also gets you into the habit of getting you in tune with yourself. And while you're planting that grain of cereal in your head and you're watching it grow, It's your way of imagining yourself of being accountable for the things that you are planning within. So by you getting rid of the left brain and focusing on the right brain, you're becoming in tune with yourself and you're holding yourself accountable because everything is unified within you. And that's what's happening. Um, in this chapter, the examples, the case study that they gave, it was like the woman was blaming like her stress factors, the doctors, the practices, all of that stuff on why she was barren. And the man, he was blaming the boss, the company, all these outside factors as to why he couldn't get the job. Well, this stage lets you be accountable for why you're not getting those things. Um, then and also this image that you're planning in your head, that you're showing in your head, is also acknowledging that from one comes many. The third part of this stage, now you're chanting Ang Vang Dahang, which is also found back in the 400 pages. And while you're chanting this, you go back to your earliest memory where you acted on emotion. This is what I've been doing all week. I know people have been following me on Facebook and they're like, what the f is she talking about? Detaching emotions, blah, blah, blah. I resonated with the most. Okay, so during this part, you imagine yourself going to the earliest memory of when you acted on emotion, which is usually sometime during childhood. If you go back to your earliest memory of acting on emotions, probably during some time when you were a child, you acknowledge that you are now an adult and you have ideas instead of emotions to act upon. If you're going to continue to react like a child, which is to react emotion driven, you must seek counsel from a child. This is saying that in order, okay, we're going back to the case study with the two people, right? They're imagining themselves in the earliest memory where they reacted emotionally, right? And they're telling themselves, if I'm going to continue to behave emotion driven, which we have learned from earlier chapters is your animal spirit, your root chakra, all the stuff that I've been preaching on everybody's Facebook page all week. um if you're going to continue to be driven by that energy, then you seek counsel from a child, because that's what children do. Children are emotion driven. Children cry, when they want stuff, when they need stuff, because all they understand is I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm this, I'm that. They don't understand the ideas that led up to that emotion. They just understand emotion. So basic factors, the animal, the sphere 10 and 9, all of that. So moving forward, you're going to identify one's emotion with the animal spirit, like I just said, with one of the symbols of Sesh, Metu Neter, which can be found in Appendix A. You're going to realize that to follow your emotions is imitating your animal spirit, and you're going to detach your identity from your emotion. This goes back to the question you asked me: how do we remove our emotions? I also was asked this a day or so ago, about the issue, the struggle with removing your emotions from situation, and that's like the hardest thing to do. I know for me, I'm very emotional. One of the emotions that I love to feel the most is happiness. I like to laugh. I like joy, and I'm one of them people where I will go towards things that give me joy or make me laugh or make me prideful, because prideful, I love that. So, but that is also an emotion you don't want to be driven by, because a lot of things that give us pleasure, as we talked about last week, like one of the examples was smoking,
wouldn't be good for you or others.
Yes, but because you're driven by your animal spirit, you're not thinking about, the act of smoking in a negative sense. You're saying, hey, I like this, so I want to do this. It's the same thing, like what has been like a common conversation amongst my Facebook page this week was like gender roles and sexuality. Well, if you're not being driven by your animal spirit, a lot of that sexuality stuff or a lot of that gender stuff would not exist, you know? Not coming for nobody. To each his. No, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to keep coddling people no more. It's not to each his own. It's not okay. Anyway, moving forward. So you're going to detach your identity from your emotion. So you imagine your emotion as said animal behaving accordingly. And this is one of the examples that the book goes on to give about the hieroglyphs and how Westerners have misinterpreted the hieroglyphs and how they had showed human bodies with animal heads. Well, that wasn't a deity per se. Anubis, for example, the head of the jackal, and jackal is supposed to be um, a certain kind of animal. What's that? The animal of intelligence, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Or the And Noah's the dead. Some sort of
I know.
intelligence. Or like destructive. Yeah, destructive nature.
Yeah. So like when they had the here it goes. At the bottom of page 176, they communicated this information through their hieroglyphic constructions of human-headed animals and animal-headed humans. Example, Anubis, the jackal-headed man, symbolizes the cunning and cleverness that man shares with canine species, also with baboons and apes. The hawk, a trainable bird of prey, was used to symbolize the higher combative and destructive aspects of animal spirit. These are the go ahead. These are the deities Heru and uncontrolled central. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so yeah, you get the drift.
Each animal has their own like basically sphere as most.
Not sphere. Each animal has their own temperament, and when they did hieroglyphics, they kind of personified the temperament of they personify temperaments. Like, okay, so like in this sphere, right? You're supposed to be identifying with your emotions, right? So you're supposed to be closing your eyes, imagining your emotion in animal form. So say the emotion you were trying to tackle was greed, or greed or gluttony. You know what gluttony is? When you overeat, when you overdo everything. So when I think of greed and gluttony, I think of a pig, because pigs just eat anything, and they'll even eat their own babies. I think this was an example that was used in the book also. They'll even eat their own babies. So you would imagine your emotion in pig form. Now, when you think of hieroglyphics, you see like the have people, have animals. That's because they were showing, okay, this was our king. Our king had an Anubis head because he was clever, not because he was a deity and he looked like a jackal or anything. It was because that was his personality. Just how like you remember that family picture we took, and everybody had their own head, and Miles had a fox head. I had a bear. Trev had a lion. I think you had a lamb. I have to show you that picture. It's a picture that we took years ago when Miles was a baby. We took it in a parking lot, and everybody had a different head. We didn't have the knowledge that we know now. So like that whole like reflection thing is pretty cool. Hello, James. Oh, hold on one second. I got stuff in the store.
Okay. So I guess for a few moments while you're waiting, you could actually try to figure out.
Go ahead.
You could actually try to figure out like what is your animal and what is his own temperament, so you can get a real lifestyle. Say, if you had a temperament that was like bothering you personally or like drifting away from others, you can think about it, but not in a negative way. Just learn how to avoid it at most times.
Right. So during this stage, you're supposed to be imagining your emotion in animal form, and then you're detaching your identity from that animal. Um, you're going to repeat the chant, and this is the last stage of this, or this is the last step within this sphere. You're going to repeat the chant again, the Ong Bang the Hong chant, and you're going to recall the first time you witnessed this emotion in someone else. This was another awesome conversation that I had, and the same conversation. Me and my mom, we have great talks about how when you see yourself in someone else, like something else, like me, I have you know I have noticed that a lot of things in other people that irritate me are things that irritate me about myself, or are things that I ignore about myself. Because we're all reflections of each other.
Like personality or
Right, all of that. So realize the emotion that you're harboring has its roots in the imitation of others. Ula. So when you realize that, when you recall the first time that you witnessed the emotion in someone else, you're also realizing that you have learned this emotion from someone else or something else as well. You are recognizing the fact that this emotion is the behavior you're displaying is a outwardly learned behavior, and not a behavior that has come from the indwelling intelligence. So once you realize that the emotion that you're feeling is not coming from the indwelling intelligence, but from the outside, it's supposed to give you like that I don't know. I guess that realization, I don't know the word for it, the realization that you need that this emotion is not for you.
Understanding.
Right. So then when we move to level one, we're still on level one of meditation, but now we're on stage two, and now we're at sphere eight. And at this stage, you remove your true self from your personality. And personalities are emotion driven and they provide limitations. And this is true. As long as you're emotionally driven, you are always going to be limited. I had wrote a few statuses about this earlier about how like a lot of these things that are put on TV to keep our emotions at a heightened stance. If you guys go back to the things that we talked about last week, we talked about how a lot of TV programming and music and stuff like that is to heighten your emotions to get you into a trance. And once they put you in a trance, they put the emotions that you want to feel within you, and they also show you images of how you're supposed to behave with that emotion. And a lot of people don't want to admit to those things because then that will be denying themselves of the earthly pleasures that they feel, the stuff like that. But it doesn't make it any less true. So anyway, at this stage, you're going to chant Ong Ang, which is also found in the 400 pages. And you're also going to imagine a time you were emotion driven. And then imagine the mummification of Asar and imagine yourself separating those emotions. So if we go back to the story of Asar, we know that his body was chopped into 14 pieces and they were buried in separate areas. His sister found his body pieces, and she put them together and she wrapped them up and she put them underwater. So at this stage, you're going to imagine the part where his sister wrapped up the pieces and put them underwater. And
learning how to separate your feelings and then learning how to make them come back together.
right, right. And this is the stage where you are separating yourself from your emotions. And we're going to go to page 180 because there was a quote there that I wanted to share. Okay. Right before you get to stage three, there's a quote. It says, "We must always be ready to say, I can, dot, 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 while understanding that this I is not the complex of capabilities, limitations, and inclinations that we call our personality, but the unconditioned, hence infinitely capable indwelling intelligence of our being, Asar." Um, yeah. So this is with the belief that Asar is within. When you say I can do something, you're saying that Asar can, and Asar is using your body as the vehicle to do that.
And that is found on that quote is found on page 180.
Mm-hmm. Now we're moving to level one, stage three, sphere seven. And at this stage, you're going to visualize yourself achieving or acting out your goal or desire to prepare yourself in the actuality of it. This is what I was talking about in the healing documentary as well as the secret documentary. You have to envision yourself having what it is that you want to have. You have to envision yourself living that truth that you're supposed to be living. So um one of another example was, it was like a misconstrued example, was like Beyonce when she first came out with the alter ego Sasha Fierce, and she was explaining how she came to be like this other person when she's on stage, and listening and thinking about that from a different set of eyes. Now I see like what that was about. You envision yourself doing the things that you want to do and having the things that you want to have, and this is a way to prepare yourself for when you have it. You know what to do. Going back, remember that, well, you know what, we're not even there yet because we're only in sphere seven, so you're still in your lower self. So this is still lower self stuff that we're dealing with. We're still not even in the higher self to even you know use ourselves as vehicles yet. Right now we're just recognizing we're emotional beings and we're ridding ourselves from that animal spirit, and we're by removing that animal spirit, now we're trying to accept, move on and get the things that we want to get.
This part of this behavior is most likely part in the young adult part of life.
No, we're still in the lower self. We're still in the lower self.
But like recognizing, isn't that like somewhat the young adult life, or is that the teen version?
Oh, we're not visualizing any. Well, we've already visualized your childhood. Now we're visualizing us actually having the thing that we're trying to achieve. So if you close your eyes and you think of something that you want, you're going to think of it in the age where you see yourself having it. Like if there's something that you want right now, you would envision yourself right now, right? But if there's something that you want into adulthood, you would try to envision your adult self having those things. That part of your vision isn't really age specified. It's just you envisioning what you want and you envisioning yourself having those things and how you would behave with those things and how you would treat that and stuff like that. Make sense? Okay. It also helps you to. This is when I think about myself wanting things and like, okay, so I really, really want a store. I'm not even sure if I can call it a store because the more I think about I want this store to do, the more it sounds like a community center instead of a store. But I want this. And so I imagine myself having it. I imagine myself
Having an establishment, having a place to give away all your thoughts, your images, all your knowledge.
yeah, but as I imagine this, I also imagine how I go about attaining it. And so as I imagine myself going about attaining it to have it, it gives me a perspective, not perspective, but it gives me tips on what I need to do to get those things that I'm trying to get. Does that make sense?
But how would you get it?
What, my story?
Yeah.
Oh, we can talk about that later. That's another story for another time. But if we go to page 181, to the second paragraph, read this quote for me.
All behaviors and physical functions are controlled by energy slash matter. It's the substantial substantial basis of our thoughts. We must realize that sounds, images are perceived as thoughts, must be formed from the same type of energy and matter. It is this energy and matter that we manipulate into images and direct and control not only our physiological and emotional behavior, but events in the social dimension of our lives, as well as the environment, as you will verify from your success in meditation.
Okay. So, so all your behaviors and physical functions are controlled by energy. And this energy is the basis of our thoughts.
This energy also controls our behaviors.
Yes. And then sounds and images that we perceive as thoughts are also formed with some kind of energy.
So then we would be made out of energy to perceive it.
Yes. So we are energy imagining energy. And this energy that we are imagining, we can manipulate into images to direct and control not only physiological and emotional behavior, but events in the social dimension of our lives, as well as the environment. So, I mean, that goes back, to what I said about the secret and healing. And this kind of breaks it down a little bit for those who, needed to be broken down to ABC to believe it. And it's just you got to understand that everything is energy, and energy can be manipulated, just as we can be manipulated. Like we can look like, all right, people have been, researching psychology and conditioning and behavior control for centuries now. I mean, the ancient knowledge has always been there, but now you have the Westerners coming up and they've been trying to research it for centuries now, because they couldn't understand the information that was already there because it's not written in letter form, it's written in images. So because they have been researching it and they have been researching it with a certain kind of intention, they have been utilizing it to manipulate our energies with certain kind of intentions. I've had this conversation earlier about the television, about how a lot of things on TV are put on TV to control our emotions, which is energy from images and perceived behaviors through sounds and images. Like I said before, you're getting fed images to tell you how to behave in certain situations when you feel certain emotions. And then there's also images on there to make you feel those emotions they want you to feel, to portray those behaviors they want you to portray. One specific error that I can think of is this whole like no when that whole no new friends error. I don't know why that keeps popping in my head whenever I think about this, but no new friends error when nobody wanted to make new friends and keep what you got. Da, da, da. Nobody was united. Everybody had that mentality. I don't want friends. I don't like women lie, niggas lie, all that stuff. And so when people would experience hardships in their relationships with their friends, with their families, with their coworkers, with strangers, with their significant others, they would adopt. They seen that behavior in the music videos, and they heard that behavior in the music. They seen it in the movie theaters where the man or the woman just goes crazy and they break up with this person or they cut this person off and they say fuck everybody. And so that was the behavior that they imitated. And that's the best thing I can come up with that. But people acknowledge that all the time, especially in music. When you listen to a certain kind of music for X amount of time, you start to adopt the behaviors that music is telling you to adopt because it's manipulating your energy. Um, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
So basically, in the first part of it, you said about how we're now just finding images of the like hieroglyphics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it says right here in the book, and I was just thinking about this, how it states right here, like we just stated a few minutes ago, we must realize that the sounds and images that are perceived as thoughts must be formed from some type of energy or matter.
Mm-hmm.
If we can, some of us have to I forgot what they're called, but whatever, I'll just use the simplest one, like diggers that dig that stuff up. If we can't understand it, then why don't we interpret the energy of it? Since literally it came from it.
That's a good question. Because a lot of people, okay, so that goes back to the statement where if you don't understand this, you have to understand the people of the civilization to understand the things that civilization has created. So if you don't bother, like you got to think about the temperament of the people who are digging up this information and digging up these artifacts. Because once again, here's a scenario within a scenario. You have to know the culture of the people that are the archaeologists. What's their goal? What's their intentions? How do they feel about the nations that of the artifacts that they're digging up? A lot of people will say that they're, they're greedy, racist people who just want to dig people's history up to steal it, to learn it because they know a secret and they want to hone in on it. Some people do it straight for curiosity, but they're being funded by the greedy people. You know what I mean? You have to understand the intelligence and the intentions of the people that are digging up these artifacts. And for a lot of them are religious driven, and a lot of religions is built on racism. Um, for example, I remember there's this channel on YouTube. It's called Spirit Science, and they talked about how a lot of artifacts were dug up in Africa and in the Middle East that challenges the Quran. And so, because those artifacts challenge the Quran, the people that dug up those artifacts would not bother with the artifacts because it dismantled everything they believed in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you have to know about the people to understand the actions. That's psychology. The Sphere 7 also goes on to talk about how there are seven one also sees deities as one with themselves rather than calling on personalities. One must call on a full complex, and there are seven within men. You also get into the Asvini Mudra meditation, which is the act of uh,
Assistance from the deities.
nah, that's not what I'm talking about. It's pretty much like the act of sexual arousal and orgasm during sex, which brings you up to a certain level of your emotions being heightened. And when you separate your emotions from that arousal, the level that your energy is at during arousal and meditation, I mean arousal and orgasm, is like that heightened emotion for trance. It's the same thing. And that, as well as, I forget, I want to say like music or dancing or something like that, those two, those are the two ways that you can heighten your emotions manually. The other ways you don't, your will doesn't necessarily have control over. And that is why you, as a young man, I want you to be very careful with your sexual energy. I know, on TV and in different like places or whatever, they talk about being free and being sexually free and doing what you want and stuff like that. But don't let the 10 and the ninth sphere prevent you from reaching your highest self. Don't be controlled or directed by your animal spirit. I've been there, been that. I could write a book on it. Probably did in my diary. But and it's not a good experience. And a lot of young people wonder why their experiences with sex and stuff at such a young age is always so traumatic and horrible and heartbreaking. And it's because they don't do it right. They they're being led by their animal spirit. They're being led by their emotions. You know what I mean? They're being led by their likes and dislikes, and that's it. You can't be led by that. As long as you be led by that, you're gonna have issues. You're always gonna have issues, but you're definitely gonna have issues. You know what I mean? So moving on from that, the summary of the chapter breaks down a couple words that I want to break down to you guys. You have person, and per means through, and sun means sound. The personalities of deities, which is words of powers and sounds, they work in your lower self, which is the ninth and tenth spheres.
And then self is a term applied allied to the concept of identity.
Yeah, that's your higher being, which is your zero sphere. So when we say self, which in the book is capitalized, they're talking about the higher being. When you talk about individual, you're talking about indivisible plus dual. This is the duality of your higher and lower self. And sixth sphere is the point of supreme equilibrium. Then for chapter 14, we go into level 2, stage 4, sphere 6. And this is meditations regarding man's will. And during this sphere, our destinies are predetermined by the indwelling intelligence. And this trance focuses on ignoring your emotions. The technique is on page 193. Did I start that? Okay, so I'm just gonna read this paragraph real quick. So, well, I'm gonna read it like this whole little thing. So, it is interesting to note that while Western man identifies his emotions as the expressions of his self, in the Kemetic tradition they are identified with the animal part of our being. The latter is kept uppermost in the understanding of the people through the widespread symbolization of human nature as animal-headed people or human-headed animals. This allows us to keep our emotions in their proper place instead of elevating them and thus giving them power over our lives, as Westerners have done. This is what I just said. Don't be emotion driven. Um, that's one of the issues of this country. Everybody is emotion driven. They're so emotion driven that they're infringing on our rights because of their emotions. Fear and anxiety are the top two emotions of this country right now, and has been for a very long time. I think this country was created on fear. This country was built on fear. When you think about slavery, how the natives were treated, how Africans were treated, how immigrants were treated when they came here, how different mental illnesses have been treated.
Almost all immigrants.
Yeah, all of that. When you think about all that has been treated in fear. Uh, yeah, and it still is. So you don't want to be led by your animal spirit at all. So it's okay to acknowledge your animal spirit, but when you get stuck on it and you say, "Oh, this is just who I am.
No.
This is my animal spirit. This is da da da," you can't. That's not good. But anyway, What are emotions anyhow? In all the behaviors so labeled, we will discover that they involve a response in which we become tense, especially in our breathing, which gets restrained and focused in the upper chest region at the point beneath the sternum. So I remember in my early relationship when like me and my partner used to argue and stuff, like it was it's a weird feeling in your chest and you can't breathe. The breathing is weird. I'm pretty sure you felt deep pain before and it causes you to breathe different. When Miles cries, he cries, his breathing is fast. So it does change your body. Um, that's one of the reasons why they say stress is the number one cause of death because stress is what creates the illnesses. When you're breathing differently and when you're tensing your body up, you're creating an environment in your body that allows illnesses to grow and it gives it a breathing room, a breathing you know what I'm talking about. It gives you a space for those viruses and bacteria to grow, for your cells to grow abnormally into cancer cells and stuff like that. Moving forward, because of this breathing is shallow and irregular, stuck in this shallow and irregular breathing state, we are thrown into a negative trance with the belief that one, some external situation or agent is the cause of our senses is the cause of our sensation, and we give it a meaningless label such as anger or shyness or fear. And two, we also follow the behavior suggested by the thought or component of our emotion. As emotions occur at the junction of the ninth and tenth spheres, the trance that is the trance that is experienced is of the mediumistic modality, which means that the will becomes inactive. A characteristic of the mediumistic trance is that the contents of the sphere of awareness are accepted as reality. This is how emotions exert their power over people's lives. This insight into emotions, that they are mediumistic trances, accompanied with tense abnormal breathing, painful as well as pleasurable, because you can have a tense breathing that is pleasurable, but it still brings your frequencies lower. This gives us the clue for disarming their power to compel us. One, do not dwell on the thoughts that accompany them. Two, focus your intention on each spot where you feel tense and will your body to relax itself. And three, regulate and harmonize your breathing by making it deep, slow, rhythmic. And in the back of the book, it does have the breathing exercises in the back. And four, if applicable, do just the opposite of what the thought accompanying the feeling was suggestion. Make a strong effort to carry out the last instruction. There was a book that I read, I want to say like last fall, and it wasn't a spiritual book or anything. It was just a book on managing your emotions because I was like really, really sad. Um, and so one of the things in the book that I remember vividly was it was talking about how to manage your emotions. And what you do is like, okay, one thing about me, and I see it in a lot of memes, so I know a lot of women do it, or people just in general, is you think about a sad thought. And that sad thought just keeps replaying over and over and over again in your mind until it hits your emotions. And now you're sad. That used to happen to me a lot. So what I did was, or well, what the book suggested doing was it acknowledge the fact that sad thoughts are going to happen. Sad thoughts are always going to happen. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be there. It's normal to have sad thoughts. It's normal to have angry thoughts. It's normal to have all those thoughts. It's normal to not be. Thoughts are going to come to you. They're going to pass through you, pass all that stuff because that's energy. It's just going to happen. There's no such thing as just being happy all the time. And that's a lot of what TV tries to show you, that you're supposed to be happy all the time. You're not supposed to have sad thoughts or angry thoughts, and you're supposed to be able to control all the thoughts that pass by you, but you can't control those things. So in the book, it says that when one of those thoughts pass by you, one of the things that you can do is kind of like make your thought comical. And one of the examples that it gave was like, okay, the thought is passing. Well, imagine the thought is on a television screen and it's like in a goofy manner, or maybe put like a goofy introduction to it, or like be like, oh, here comes this crazy thought again, like something like that. And that kind of like helps. It helps not just with like random thoughts, but like when stuff happens, it makes me sad. Like I've been working on my credit, and these people keep coming up trying to get me to pay for old shit that doesn't exist no more, and I got sad because like I'm trying to fix my credit, and now somebody got my phone number, and now they all calling me. I had to learn how to like separate that from my feelings because my feelings was hurt, trying to better myself. But anyway, So that's basically what it's saying. It's saying, when you regulate your breathing and when you manipulate the energy around you to imagine certain things, it'll help you separate yourself from your emotions. And this is not something that's going to happen overnight. This is not something that's going to happen because you did it for an hour or 7 days. No, this takes it takes months. It takes months. It takes 21 days to just get in the habit of doing it. So it's going to take months for it to be effective. I think the fact that people think that everything is supposed to be like quick, quick, quick is why people don't stick to things like diets and lifestyles and all that stuff like that. But that's not how it works. Um,
It's supposed to be a daily thing, so you never have to go back to that.
right. When you make it a habit, you make it a part of your daily life. It makes it easier to do it naturally.
Not even magic can do
Right. And you don't even think about it after a while anymore. It's just a part of you. That's the goal, to make those things a part of you to where you're not even thinking about it anymore. But yeah, when a powerful emotion threatens to overwhelm us, at step number 3, we can zap it by forcibly pulling the lower abdomen in and up, which is a lot of breathing exercises. If you guys, ever go on YouTube and look up meditation exercises and breathing exercises and stuff, they do teach that. Lift the upper chest and hold it as you breathe out. And make sure that the lower abdomen is the only place in the body where tension is felt. This cannot be overstated. Follow this out breath by expanding the lower abdomen as you breathe in. At the end of the in breath, tense and lower abdomen, hold breath. Repeat this cycle, starting with the forcible contraction as shown above. Do this for as long as needed to diffuse the emotion. It should not require any repetitions. Its effectiveness is due to the fact that the forcible contraction of the lower abdomen applies pressure to the pneumogastric nerve, which stabilizes the activity of the heart and sends a reflex stimulus to the waking center of the brain and the cerebral cortex. This manipulation of the nervous system serves to awaken the person from the mediumistic trance of emotion, as it is the basis for inducing waking trance. That's cool. And that just goes to show why, I think it was like a week ago when we talked about how like different the different healthcare specialties are broken up and they shouldn't be broken up. If anything, they should be unified. That was a perfect example because when you breathe through your abdomen, you are also affecting your heart as well as your brain. And if you are only specialized in the digestive system or the cardiac system or the neural system, then you're not going to put all of those things together. You're not going to put breathing to assist with all of those things simultaneously or just at once. Like you're not going to do that because you have separate, you know what I mean. But one of the examples that it gives, like for those that are like, I don't know how to do this, it does give you a challenge. I don't know if I can do this challenge. You want to try to do this challenge 7 days without laughing, smiling, or crying? I don't think I can go 7 days without laughing and smiling, even like the smile when I see wonderful people. This one, I can't help it. It's like a reaction.
it.
So,
It just seemed like, I guess, like a child happiness. Just like,
right, and I have a 5-year-old, so I don't think I'm allowed to go 7 days without smiling or laughing or
it's
crying.
a job.
Right, it's a part of the job. You have to laugh at all his jokes and smile at him, or he's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" So I don't know if you guys can do the challenge. Go 7 days without laughing, smiling, crying, showing any type of behavior that's attached to whatever emotion you're feeling. And once you get into the habit of no longer showing the behavior attached to the emotion, it'll make the emotion seem way more asinine than what it does when you attach your behavior to it. And let me know how that goes. I would like to know. I don't think I'm not in the space to be able to do that.
A
I'm not
lot of
gonna
these
lie.
challenges in this book, I basically tried myself, but I didn't even know it was an actual thing you could actually do.
Facts. Definitely. Especially like with the not necessarily the chance, but the
Like,
manipulating of the images in your brain. I do that. I do it all the time. But I always thought there was something wrong with me. Like
yeah, I do.
maybe I need to be on somebody's therapist couch. But cool, I'm not alone. It's genetic. We're crazy together. So we go to level 2, stage 5, which is sphere 5. You use men, ab, and waking trance to establish a sense of justice. We're also going to add ling while envisioning ourselves destroying or ignoring the animal vision of our behavior. So remember how before we were imagining an animal that represents the behavior, the emotion that we were feeling, and then we related it to the first time we ever felt that emotion, and also the first time we ever witnessed someone else behaving or acting out that emotion. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to imagine ourselves destroying that animal vision of behavior. Oh my gosh! So this is so crazy. I got to share this. So my son, not this one, my other one, he's a Taurus, earth sign. And we were talking yesterday about I was trying to tell him how we were persons and sound is our superpower. And there's a show called The New Negroes, and in the show, at the end of every episode, they have this guy. He raps too. So he has a song called "Police Yourself" with MF Doom. MF Doom is great. Anyway, moving forward, so it's a song about policing yourself. So I was telling him, I was like, you got to imagine a person in your mind telling you, not to do something before you do it, because my son is very emotion driven. We have been working on how he expresses his emotions for a while now, and he's gotten better. So I was just, fucking him out through his emotions real quick. Like, bro, you got to find another way to use your sound because, you're doing too much.
But he thinks of his obstacles like an actual person.
Yeah, but like this is what he explained to me. So as we're talking and he's starting to rant, he was just like, "Yeah, I imagine a man made out of water and he's purple. And I'm inside of him and I'm fighting to get out. And then when I get out, I kill him and I bury him in the dirt." So I mean, think about that how you will, but I just thought that was cool because he's a Taurus, which is the earth sign. So he buried the water under dirt, and then water sign is kind of like it clashes with the earth sign a little bit because water smooths rocks. So I thought that was cool, and that was just like
I actually thought about how the color is.
the purple, yeah, purple too, right? Because that's supposed to be like your crown chakra. So I'm like, dang,
And then
like,
blue as well. Like he's fighting how to understand or like communicate.
yeah, blue is the throat chakra. So it's just like it was so crazy that and he's 5, and that's what he came up with. That's crazy. So we all do it. We're all crazy. It's all genetic. Yeah. So at this stage, you're envisioning yourself destroying or ignoring the animal vision of behavior. We get to level 2, stage 6, which is sphere 4. This is where you reach the equilibrium of your higher and lower self, the scales of Mach. At this stage, you're going to give, at this stage, you express, okay, so at this stage, the behavior you are going to exhibit is giving without expectation, um, sharing with everyone, even with your enemies. When you do acts like this, especially giving to people that you would never give to, or being nice to people that you would never be nice to, this is an act that is so far off from your usual like emotion driven behaviors that it helps you to further ignore those emotions and being emotion driven in that sense. This gives you an even further space from your person and emotions. And I thought that was cool. And that's true. And you know what's so okay, I'm gonna do that later. I'm gonna do that later. Put a pin in that. So when we get into chapter 15 was so really good. Like the beginning of chapter 15, it talks about your body clock and how once again the hieroglyphics were misconstrued as to looking as if people were actually worship the sun and worshiping the moon. In reality, those hieroglyphics were actually showing the times of days to do certain things under the sun and the moon. Like the sun and moon were the clocks of seasons, time of day, months, and so on and so forth. It wasn't necessarily the worship of those two things.
But we still did it.
No, they did not. But when Westerners went and started looking at things that they didn't understand, instead of trying to understand the civilization that created those
Or like
things,
tell people that we're still a part of it.
yeah, they misconstrued the information and made it seem as if the sun and moon were being worshipped. And that was not the case. And then it goes on to talk about um, the body clock being from 9 to 12, and how you're supposed to do everything between those hours of 9 to 12, and you're not supposed to eat super late. And okay, so a list of hundreds of facts. This is on page 201.
To be honest, when I read about it, it actually made sense.
Yeah,
Like you usually get scolded if you try to like take a midnight snack, even though if you're hungry.
right.
And that's like the part of the time where your body is shutting down, just to like get to sleep or to just like not do anything.
Right. The only thing that I didn't get, okay, so
But then I thought about a deeper level. Why do we eat dinner if that's the case? Does that have like is there a difference for that?
well, I read that other cultures only eat one big meal a day and they just snack during the rest of the day.
I found one where there was like only like two meals, like breakfast and lunch.
Right.
Because
But like
then like the after the afternoon, it's just like resting period, and it's just like a snack or something.
yeah, and like healthy snacks, not like chips and cookies and shit, like fruit, like we're eating fruit. And then breakfast is usually like healthy. Well, breakfast and lunch are healthy things too, so it's like you're not eating junk. But yeah, I read that it not on here, but just like I can't even reference it because it was so long ago. I read that fact and I didn't bother to read the resource. But yeah, that's exactly what it was. But okay, so on here it says the stomach's natural schedule to secrete digestive acids peaks at around midday and hits rock bottom at midnight. Along with it runs the cycle for secreting the mucus that coats the stomach to protect it against this acid. When you eat a major meal past midday, especially at night, it causes the stomach to secrete acid in excess. Yeah, it causes the stomach to secrete acid in excess of the night. I keep losing my place. Required amount of mucus in the stomach. Along with other factors, this can create or aggravate an ulcer and definitely contribute to a host of digestive problems and malassimilation. Beyond the indigestion, all sorts of disorders will reflect themselves to distant but related parts of the body. You may suffer headaches, which is true because if I eat late and I go right when I wake up, my stomach is like fucking on fire or my head hurts. Also insomnia, which is true because
But then how would this factor work? Like,
hmm,
you could say this is like a fairy tale almost.
what?
But after reading that part, I've actually wondered how the effect of like drinking hot milk actually makes you go to sleep.
I don't know. I never tried that goofy shit. And you and Miles were breastfed.
I tried it before.
Does it work?
Yeah.
I don't imagine it working. I think that shit sound nasty. Warm milk.
Hey,
First of all, you're not supposed to be drinking cow's milk. We're
I
not
read
cows.
that warm milk.
Right. That's like ew. That just sounds nasty. We're not cows.
I mean, I don't even understand how you would even get one.
They warm it up. They buy milk and then they put it on like the stove. They might like boil it or whatever, put it in the microwave.
No.
Yeah, they just warm regular milk up out the refrigerator.
No.
It's nasty, right?
Just think about it. You're getting something from the refrigerator that's supposed to be cold. And the thing is, it's supposed to be cold for a reason. Like cereal. Cold milk. Let's see. If you use it as like a sauce. Not like a sauce, but you know what I mean. How you would use it for like cookies.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You do use it to cook with stuff.
And it would be cold. You would use it cold, but it will eventually turn hot. That doesn't mean you use it when it's hot.
No, I get what you're saying.
Otherwise, it would.
No, niggas is just nasty already. That's all that is.
Otherwise, you would.
Niggas is weird and niggas is nasty. And they don't like to be called on their shit because they're being led by their animal spirit. It's pleasurable. What pleasure they get out of that shit? I don't
Because I certainly do not get it.
I surely do not. My stomach will be all the way crazy. I can't even eat. I haven't had ice cream in so long. I can't do it.
I like ice cream. I just can't have anything like, hey, have this frosting on top of this frosting, and then put some sprinkles on top, and definitely put the cherry. That's definitely gonna be super healthy for you.
Well, they make almond milk ice cream now, and cashew milk ice cream, which is fucking delicious. But I don't know. I haven't really been like I
Like
be wanting to.
the last time I actually like tried something crazy, like it was this certain type of ice cream, right?
Mhm.
I actually remember trying this when we lived in Elizabeth. So it's this type of ice cream, right? The inside, the actual like flavor is vanilla, and they top it off with like a weird frosting that it hardens onto the.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it like hardens on it, and it's
That shit
cherry.
be delicious.
Yeah.
Cherry.
See,
I only seen that
See?
in chocolate or peanut butter.
that was actually on the on the ice cream truck that would used to come in Elizabeth. I don't even think you even tried. I don't even think you ever tried it because I would get it whenever I had an allowance, and that was usually when I just came back from school or I was outside, and that was when you were either asleep or you were doing something else in the house.
Oh, we used to steal them free ice cream cones. Ah, let me tell you this story.
Oh no!
Before we get back to the book. So this little guy, it used to be an ice cream truck that used to sit right around the corner from the school.
It would always just be there.
Every day. And this boy used to walk up to the ice cream truck and take an ice cream cone and leave. I walked this boy and I never thought nothing of it. You know, I'd be at home with the baby. The school is literally around the corner, so I know Zeke is making it home. I don't know what dawned on me one time. I think I was just walking with Miles, and I was like, you know what, I'll go get Zeke today. Fuck it. Went over there, went back, and the ice cream man stopped me and was like, your son been getting free ice creams. And I thought he was slow. So I let him take them, but it's been happening every day. I had to pay this dude. He just would grab an ice cream and leave. Like, he legit thought that's how it worked. Like, I don't know, he was nice. He just gave it to me, so I took it and left. Like, oh. Let's get back to this story because I'm getting angry. Like, my emotions is attaching to the memory of the bullshit. So,
He never even told me that. He was just like, you know what?
because he thought you was slow.
I wasn't slow. I actually like said it like multiple times. Like, are you sure, sir? I actually have
Oh, well, he would just let you go. I guess he thought he was going to catch you one day. He surely did. So,
But then after that, I just went full out, just bring my allowance. And that's when I tried the cherry thing, and it was disgusting.
it sounds disgusting. I don't know.
Vanilla on cherry. And then you actually put a cherry on top to make it. They actually, it was funny for me because they actually thought I would actually want a cherry on top. They actually put it on there when they literally put a hardened frosting on top.
Unnecessary. All right, let's get back to this so we can be done. So, similarly, while the time unconditioned voluntary, which is considered as your yang, part of your body will respond to your will to exercise heavily at any time of the day. The time conditioned involuntary portion, the yin, which provides the vital support, which is your blood and it clears your waste and helps you sweat, etc., is only predisposed to handle such activities between sunrise and sunset and midday.
Basically, the same time from the time that your digestive system shuts.
Yeah, so from sunrise until midday, this is the time of day when you're supposed to be like really doing shit. Like,
Because
I know they say like
that's literally how your energy is, right?
yeah, your body goes by sunrise and sunfall. When you at midday, that's when the sun is at its highest. That's also when your energy is at its highest, and then it dwindles from there. Yeah, and the moon phases operate the same way, but the moon phases take a little bit longer. It's not in one day. The moon phases over the course of about a month. But yeah, so you know, your will can tell your body, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym at 7 p.m. after work, but your Okay, I get voluntary and involuntary mixed
But
up,
your animal
but I was right.
spirit, but your animal spirit
No, no,
would
no,
be
not your animal spirit, baby. Your animal spirit is the emotion. Your involuntary muscles, like your indwelling intelligence.
okay. So then indwelling,
Indwelling.
indwelling
Mm-hmm.
would try to say like, no, relax, you did enough today.
Yeah. It's the indwelling intelligence is the part of your body that controls all of your organs, the things that you don't think about,
It
like the
also
cell
tries to make you
cycle.
relax,
You
like
know how many cell
overrelax.
cycles are going on in your body right now? You ain't telling all that shit what to do, but it's at its peak between sunrise and midday. So you can go exercise at like 5, 6, 7 o'clock, but all of that stuff that's being controlled, that's controlling your cells and making sure you sweat adequately, make sure your blood is circulating correctly and all that stuff. That shit is not going to be as great during that period of time where you decide to exercise. And this is why a lot of people have issues with their diets or their exercise plans and stuff like that, because even though you might be intaking the correct amount of calories, even though you might be exercising the right amount of times, you're not doing it on the correct time of day. And as long as you're not doing it during the correct time of day, your body is not going to go with that shit. Your body is still going to do little things you're still going to be unhealthy. You're still, going to do all those things because you're still eating at a time of day where your body is not supposed to be eating or ingesting or exercising or doing any of those things. Um, the sympathetic division of the nervous system, which is in charge of sending blood to the external organs of the body, is on the rise, and the body supply of glycogen is still available. Exercising during the evening, while convenient because of the economic industrial mode controlling our lives, it actually harms your body. And not only because of the lack of internal vital support, but also because it infringes upon other functions that are naturally scheduled to take place in. This is one of the reasons why, after reading this chapter, this is one of the reasons why I want to homeschool you. And it's also another reason why I don't really like working overnight, but it's also one of the reasons why I would rather like work from home or be my own boss, because this right here is just proof that the schedule that the school system has these kids on, and the schedule that that we're working is not good for us. Like those are the hours that we're supposed to be like doing certain things, and
But
you're
that's like the worst time. So that's when your body is the weakest.
no, it's actually during a time when your body is at its peak. So it's like so many other things you should be doing. Like this is like I mean, okay, from a business standpoint, I guess like
Yeah,
if I
because
know
you
your
work like
body peaks
overtime.
during those hours, then I will utilize you during those hours so you can, do the best for my company. Okay, so yeah, all
So would
right.
they like take?
And I would educate you during those hours. Okay, all right, all right. Touche. Never mind. I just thought about the other side of it.
I actually didn't even think about the school part. I just thought about business.
Yeah. All in all, it's done on purpose. Um,
Which 201.
it will cut into and interfere with the time allotted to evening functions of the parasympathetic.
Which is assimilation, repair, and generation, etc.
Right. And then you wonder why, in spite of all your exercising, good, wholesome, natural diet, and wondrous herbal supplements, your health still breaks down and you are still beset with spiritual and emotional problems. Because as I said earlier, like eating late and stuff like that messes with your emotions also. Um, a list of hundreds of facts supporting this rhythmic and time-conditioned flow of bodily functions can be given. It is not. It is enough to note a few. Independent of our activities, our temperature, pulse, and breathing rates do not remain even throughout the day. They rise with the sunrise, peak at midday, and drop below their mean at sunset and bottom out at midnight. It is well known to Western scientists that all of our activities, physical labor, mental labor, left brain thinking, right brain thinking, eating, sleeping, etc., have their best and worst times of day, which times are inherently related to the forces governing the rise and fall in temperature, pulse, and diurnal and circadian course of the sun. Incidentally, because the people of the ancient black civilizations synchronized the events in their lives with these cycles, ignorant Westerners accuse them of worshiping the sun, the moon, and the stars. We talked about this, which are in reality means of keeping track of the variety of cycles. They were meditated upon, not worshipped, with the aim of understanding how to harmonize the day-to-day activities of our lives with the cycles they represent. Living in accordance to these cycles place limitations and disciplinary measures upon us. It is interesting to note that cycles, limitations, and discipline are all natural keywords, and Saturn is the planetary correspondence to the third sphere. Yep. Okay. So, nah, never mind. I was about to come up with an argument, but that didn't even make sense. But they do use these hours where they know you at your peak to do some left brain shit. It's like, nah. Oh no, it is though, cause like if you think about TV, daytime TV when you stay home from school, it'd be like hella soap operas, which is dramatic emotional shit. All the news shows, which is dramatic emotional shit.
Just like a whole bunch of like buying stuff. And just like a whole bunch of old jewelry.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really trying to make this argument stick.
Old jewelry. They're just fine.
But nah, I'd rather use y'all peak hours to teach y'all better stuff. I don't know. That's me being stubborn. I really want to homeschool you guys. I hate school. It's trash. And the thing about it is, I really loved school when I was younger because I'm good at school. But like,
I
they don't.
like it. I like school
You like
itself
school?
somewhat. Somewhat.
Somewhat.
I'm not gonna say like I love school. No, somewhat. That sometimes.
I mean, everything has a duality to it. Everything has a love hate. Everything that you ever do, even when you get the job that you love, it's gonna be something that you hate about it. Even when you get the wife that you love, it's gonna be something that you hate about her. Even when you get the kids that you love, it's gonna be something that you hate about them. Maybe hate is a strong word, but hate is the duality of love.
Don't like.
Yeah, don't like. But it's a duality to that. Like you gotta accept the duality. I love Once Upon a Time. Remember that show Once Upon a Time? And Rumpelstiltskin said that all magic comes with a price, and that's something that I say all the time. I say it jokingly, but that's some real shit though. All magic comes with a price, so everything.
All action has a hell of a concept.
Yeah, so everything positive has a negative to it. So I mean, it is what it is. I think the school system could do better, but in order for them to do better, they would have to acknowledge Black people a whole lot more than what they already do.
And then they can, and then we have like actual cultural understanding.
Yeah.
Instead of just like full on, not trying to discriminate like white.
Yeah, and weak ass imitations, but that's neither here nor there. That is what it is. I mean, so we're at level 3, stage 7, sphere 3. And this is the invocation at this stage is to become a power of the deity for the service of others. The objective of the first meditation at this stage is to go into a trance while visualizing yourself as the hawk-headed and holding I'm gonna butcher this, os scepter, a flail, and a crook. The scepter symbolizes happiness as well as being resulting from due attention to the flail and a crook. On one level, the flail symbolizes the expansive, externalizing hot, which is the yang portion of the cycle of manifestation, while the crook, the internalizing cool, which is the yin side. Keeping them in balance leads to well-being and success. In addition, the flail symbolizes the harshness with which we must deal with ourselves for violating our pledges of discipline, while the crook corresponds to the gentle meditative and ritualistic methods at the same end. Success with them qualifies us for the roles of governing and ruling of others. So, yeah. The second set of meditation involves the Heka and the symbols of the deity governing the meditation objective, while Nefert Ra invoked had Haru during the third stage, emphasizing her enjoyment of the objective sought. She saw herself enjoying the baby she wanted to have. This is the example that I told about you earlier. Here she will go into a trance with the aim of becoming the deity for the sake of spiritual development. The interest here is not a personal one, as one had died to the personal needs. Remember, we separated ourselves from our emotions, so we're no longer talking about ourselves anymore. Once one has succeeded in manifesting the deity at this level, one can generate its forces to assist others in need or to serve as an earthly vehicle for the will of God. Example is the supreme being will use your spirit for promoting its plan in the world. With differences regarding ritual system of afflicted commonly practiced throughout the ritual of the afflicted. Once a person has succeeded in healing herself through the power of a particular deity, she must train others. Hence the implication at this stage is to become a power of the deity for the service of others, while the implication at the third stage was for the sake of one's personal needs. So before we were talking about ourselves, we were at, like I said, we were at the lower self of ourselves. So we were talking about ourselves and our emotions, separating ourselves from our emotions and becoming further and further away from ourselves, which is our person, which is, the animal spirit that's directed by our emotions and stuff like that. And now we're getting to the part where we're becoming out of ourselves. We're letting go of the selfishness of our wishes and going into, utilizing our bodies for God's will and what God wants to do, specifically honing in on a specific deity that represents what it is we're trying to invoke. So moving forward, stage three, level three, stage eight, sphere two fundamental actions of the mind, which is thinking and thought drift. Thinking labels thoughts, it's left brained and it guides thoughts on an objective sense.
But then what is a thought drift? I never heard of it.
Okay, so thinking is what you make yourself think. This is your wisdom. This is what you read about, things like that. Your thought drift, you ever been sitting in silence and had like random thoughts come to you that you didn't ask for?
I just be like, huh, or just a random song.
Mm-hmm. Random songs, random thoughts, stuff that you don't, stuff that you didn't direct your brain to think about.
A lot of those good to have.
They're both good to have. They're both are good and bad at the same time. They provide you duality. It depends on what your thinking is. Your thinking is, like I said, it's the wisdom. Um, and your thought drift is your indwelling knowledge. Is proficiency of the stage makes one a sage. So once you become to the stage, you become a sage. And this is on page 204. The more, hold on, wait. In preceding stage, all thoughts save one, the image to beauty, or the object to be known, were ignored during the meditation process. When one comes out of a trance, it induces the expectation of having a revelation. It's often fulfilled. The meditation at this stage involves going into a trance with the heka of asar. There are no visualizations or expectations. The attention is focused at an area about an inch beneath the navel to follow the breathing. Eventually, all thoughts and awareness of the body, emotions, and environment fall away, leaving our consciousness conscious of being conscious. Okay, now we're getting to sphere one when you're only conscious of being conscious. So this is the stage that's supposed to lead you to stage nine. Um, this stage you're supposed to keep repeating until you get to stage nine, sphere one, which is attention is focused on much between the navel, asar. Eventually, all thoughts pass, and this is represented by the mummy asar, which was buried underwater. And then we get to level four, stage 10, zero, which we know is the utmost, which conscious of being conscious, is decentralized and boundless. So you are separated from your emotions of the situation. You are now a vehicle of the indwelling intent, intelligence. Um, your energy has been manipulated for the greater good of all, and not just yourself and your wish. The important. Oh yeah, and then it goes on. Hold on, I'll read the paragraph for level four, stage 10, zero. This is a subtle continuation of the preceding stage, which we just talked about, only becoming conscious of being conscious, focusing on your breathing. When we attain this realization of self at stage nine, our consciousness of being conscious is characterized by a sense of being focused in the center of the consciousness experience. In this stage, the consciousness of being conscious is decentralized, ever expansive, balanced, and diffuse. Thus, we realize that Patanjali's definition of yoga, which is attained from the inhibition of mental energy, the seer is clothed in his essential nature. We have pushed our quest to self to its most hidden inner recess, which in Comedic tradition is called Amen and Nu. We have thus become Neb or Chur. And in summary, it talks about the importance of all leaders being one with the supreme being. So it goes on to talk about how um, when ancient Kemet was first created, or created, built, something, whatever word you want to use, um, there were more prophets on at the circle of government than laymen, which are just regular dudes. Um, but as time went on, when ancient Kemet started falling, it was because there were less and less prophets at the table of government, and there was more regular dudes that didn't really believe in the religion, didn't believe in being conscious. They, thought with their left brain rather than their right. And you see that today in this country. This country was supposedly founded on religious freedom. So it was founded by, people that believed in, you know, at least at least Christianity, to the sense of, I don't even know. I'm not even gonna lie. It, if I were to assume, what they meant by religious freedoms, I were to assume that it was they the whole purpose was for different people of different religions to come here and live as one, because that wasn't allowed anywhere else. I would make the assumption that the people that wanted to create that kind of living space actually wanted to be at the table with people who thought differently but the same simultaneously. I would make the assumption that people that wanted to create that living space were at, the zero sphere of consciousness. And I would also make the assumption that over time, up until today, we now have zero prophets helping to maintain that living space, while we have many laymen, and actually a layman in charge of the entire living space.
But then how do we have like the little chemistry of information?
I don't understand.
Basically remaining people. What are they?
They're regular people. They're not. They're not at sphere zero. And I mean, I forget who told me this, but the people that we have in office are reflections of ourselves. Um, Trump didn't win because he won. He won because he's a reflection of what we are as a people right now, and we are separate. We do separate ourselves from different, things, whether it's race or gender or economic class, or who gets welfare, who doesn't, who has kids, who doesn't, who's married, who isn't, um, religion. I don't know if I did that already, but of all the divisions that we have created and allowed to live amongst ourselves. And it's scary and unfortunate that that has happened this way, but it is what it is. And in the book, at the end of the chapter, they talk about, how ancient Kemet was at its best when there were more prophets in the government. And as the amount of profits started to dwindle, so did the ethics of the people that were being governed, the ethics of the civilization, the ethics of the laws, and so on and so forth. And history has definitely repeated itself in all the lands, in all the countries, in all the states. History is definitely repeating itself as we have less prophets in office and less prophets in these government seats, and more regular people that are being controlled by their animal spirit, and telling people that it's okay to be controlled by your animal spirit. It's okay to be controlled by your emotions and stuff like that. And it's not. Um, but when you go back to the story of Asar, it gives you hope, because we do know that life is a cycle and there is nothing new under the sun. While Set and Asar was at a battle, they also became at a stalemate, and eventually Asar and Set were able to join forces and utilize one another for the greater good. So
Are we ever gonna get there yet?
I think we're gonna get there. I think we're getting there. Like I said last week, if I were to put a stage of the story into where we are now,
Recognition.
yes, I would say we are at recognition. I think we're at the point where the story where the sister gathers all the body parts and she shrouds them and puts them underwater. I think we're at that part now, where the different pieces are being gathered, where we're still divided, but the pieces are slowly coming together. We're starting to have pieces come together, and it's great. It's good to see. I love to see all the Black-owned businesses and Black-owned things, because you have to go inward before you can go outward, and we have to go inward as individuals, just like you see us putting it out there, how we're going inward in our spirituality. Everyone has to go inward as individuals, but then you also go inward as a race. You go inward as a community, you go inward as a civilization, and then ultimately you go inward as a country. But I love to see that the Black community is going inward, and we are building ourselves up so we can, come to the larger table to be, a unit, unified. It's important. It's how we make shit move. So these were good chapters. These were the chapters of meditation and manifestation, chapters 13 through 15. You can also go to the back of the book to see the images and also see the deep breathing exercises and stuff like that. If anybody has any questions, if anybody wants me to, I guess, take pictures or scan the back of those pages for you guys so you guys can have them or see them, inbox me. If anybody has any questions, inbox me. If anybody wants to talk about what we just talked about, inbox me. Feedback is definitely welcome. Feedback is definitely welcome as we go through this book together. It's just been an awesome journey. I think we have about 2 weeks left of this book, and then we'll be moving on to our next one.
What is your next book going to be?
I want to read Metu Neter Volume 2, but I think we should shake it up a little bit first. This was not a hard read, but this was very heavy. So I think we should shake it up to a lighter book. I mean, it's not going to be lighter in content, but it'll be an easier
still going to
read.
have like an impact.
You know what? I really want to read Science and Myth and Melanin. I'm going to grab it.
Oh, no.
No, yes.
We need to end video. Okay, guys, I'm just going to end it. Well, everybody prepare yourselves. So as soon as she will get the book, she'll tell the whole story.
I'm not going to tell the whole story. It's just a great book.
Essay.
Oh, okay, I found it.
Here comes the essay.
So this is like the best book in all the land. And when people talk about healthcare and Western healthcare and eating and exercising and dieting, I'm like, bro, read this whole book. I got this book when I was in Newark. It's a bookstore in Newark called the Source of Knowledge bookstore, and that's where I got this from. This will be the next book we read, and it's a short read. This is only like 130 pages. That ain't shit. And it just goes on to talk about how like Western healthcare, just Western society period, has ignored the effects of melanin on the physiological development, and there's a physiological body of melanated people altogether. And then it goes into depth about how melanin affects the different systems, our different body systems.
How we get it.
Yeah, how we get it, how we express it, things it helps us do, and why Western culture just insists on denying us of our own specialized healthcare based upon how our babies develop and where, we get our special abilities from. It's a really good book. So this is what we're going to read next. And this is going to be a nice, short, light read. And then we'll probably get into Metu Neter Volume 2 after this short read, because I've never even touched Metu Neter Volume 2. I've tried to read this book a couple of times, but I tried to read it as the PDF file. But my thing is, I like books. Like, I need this in my hand like this. This works for me. But the PDF file, like, if I were to be a grateful person, just be grateful for what the universe put in my lap, I would have did that.
A book online, then I'll do it. But I'd rather do it.
Right.
Be like, I want my own eyes to have it.
Right. And then, like, I hate staring at a computer screen because it just, like, it makes my eyeballs hurt. Like, it's already, like, when I'm reading an actual book.
No, I'm blind, but let me just look at the screen. My eyes are going to burn after.
Right. So we're only going to be doing this book for, like, 2 more weeks. We only have that many chapters. The next chapters we're going to read is 16, 17, and 18.
And then it's just going to be, and then it's going to be 19 to 22, I believe.
Yeah.
And then 23 to...
Wow. 23 and 24. Yeah, so we're pretty much done.
Yeah, just 3 more. There's 3 more groups.
Right.
3 more weeks left.
I think this time we're going to do Oh wow, that's 56 pages worth. Okay, yeah, we're
I
gonna
can
do
read over
chapters
one.
16, 17, 18. Well, I was trying to break it up into like the things like chapter 16, 17, and 18. We're talking about the oracles and the Metu. But if you want, we can group chapter 19 into that as well. And what is that going from page 205 to page to 300? So that would be 100 pages. That's nothing. We can read that in a week.
The Oracle is about how long?
That's only 4 pages.
Okay, and then the Nobodies of Metu Neter.
The deities of Metu Neter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about 20 pages.
Well, altogether, we do chapter 16, 17, 18, 19. That's 100 pages.
And I could just read that much out of a book last night. I just did that.
All right. So if we read like 15 pages a day, we get it done by next Monday. That ain't nothing. That's 7 days. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Okay. So
We
we're
didn't
gonna
even get over it.
we're gonna do chapter 16, 17, 18, and 19. We're gonna go over that next Monday, and then the Monday after is gonna be chapters 20, 21, and 22. Yeah, and that'll be 81 pages, and then 23 will be our final one. 23 and 24 will be our final one. So yeah, like 3 weeks left.
If we did like a whole day thing, we're way over the how much pages we can read this in a week.
All right.
Like if we did this like a whole day of reading this book, we could get like over four, yeah, like over like 3,500 pages.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I can sit here and read all those pages in a day, but I wouldn't comprehend them. After a while, like my brain will tell me, like, all right, we done.
Unless I like read it thoroughly or like just take pauses, I won't like store it in my head. But I'll still like have the event. Like say if you just like if like a stranger came up to me and be like, "Hey, remember this book?" and I'm like, just a few seconds to process. Like this file. Ah, I remember now. This thing and this. All these details. I'll just get it after like a few seconds of processing what you just
And a lot of these are just like going to depth of definitions type things. Like it's not even like you're reading it how we just got done reading like those and those were like legit like paragraphs and stuff. It's not even worded like that. So these will be easy reads. We got 3 more weeks left of this book, and then when we get finished this book, we're going into the science and myth and element, which I'm super excited about. I've been trying to get you to read it, but since you won't read it by yourself, I'll make you. So yeah, next Monday. Oh, is there anything you want to tell them that you're doing that you have done? I wrote a book, y'all. I got a kids book out, and pre-orders are out. The book is $20.
What is the kid book?
Show and tell, and it's about kids that
You
use
already
their.
got it out. I thought you did it.
I've been did it, but
You just published it.
I just got a publishing deal, and so now I have a publishing company publishing my book. I'm also working on a horror series, which I'm waiting on your input. I'm waiting on everyone else's input because I wrote mine already. Which is it's a collection of scary stories. Also, I'm working on another chapter book, which I've been putting on pause for a very long time, and I need to pick back up.
I think the horror book thing is gonna be easy for me.
Well, I mean, whenever you're ready to do it, let's get it done.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all I got going on. Oh yeah, my Let's Nobodies jewelry. If you guys, want some organite jewelry, some organite home decor, you guys can definitely send me an email or inbox or something. We could do some consultation, and I'll make you a what do you call it? A customized piece for whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that you're trying to meditate on. I do those things. I can also do that with I recently made some pyramids with a friend of mine. Her mother died, and I made it out of ashes, and that came out pretty dope. So I can do that. If you guys have a loved one that you would like to immortalize in some organite jewelry or home decor, I'm capable.
I think if I want to challenge myself, I'll actually say it. You know how like at the back of the book there's like well I was well just in my head I was just thinking like say if they wanted like a mental image I would like draw them one myself like using a for this. Just challenge myself.
That's dope. I think you should do that. I would love to see that. I don't. If anybody's going to work on that 7 day challenge of not smiling or laughing or crying, let me know how that goes. Cause I mean,
I only lasted like when I didn't even think it was a thing.
mhm.
Every challenge I do is out of curiosity. It's just like, I see it on the internet. Hey, you could do this. I'm interested. And just does it and just like halfway completes it or just like what's over.
Crazy.
But I was only able to do 3 days.
3 days?
3 days.
I can't do it. Cause soon as you guys come in the door, I gotta smile at y'all and say hi. And when Miles gets off the bus, I have to smile at him in order to get him to even step off the bus. It's just a lot. I gotta smile at teachers when I drop Miles at school. I gotta laugh at Miles' jokes. I gotta smile at everyone. Laugh.
It was easy to do this challenge because it was at the summertime. It was also when yeah, school was out, so it wasn't like, hey, smile for the teacher, smile for the other kids. Hey, you got to talk to these other kids too. Apply your emotions. Not having school in the picture, you can definitely try. If you have school in the picture, there's just no try.
At all. At all. But yeah, so chapter 16, 17, 18, and 19. Next Monday, we will be here to go over that fun stuff.